Welcome back to the Michigan Business Beat, brought to you on the Michigan Business Network. Coming to you today from the Grand Hotel on Mackinac Island, and we're here because this is where the Detroit Regional Chamber of Commerce has their policy conference every year. And speaking of policy, here we got Mark Hackel. Mark is the executive in Macomb, right? How you doing, bud?
Doing good, Chris. Thanks for having me on your show again.
It is
coming to this.
Listen, this is an annual date, bud.
It is.
So we like to know what's going on in Macomb County.
We're so fortunate.
What are the highlights? What's the last year been?
It's almost it's kind of difficult to kind of tick off every one of the things that are happening because there's so much happening. We're very excited. You know, one of the things we pushed on way up here with our billboards that we often do to kind of promote things that are happening in Macomb was our AAA bond rating status. Yeah. You know, that says a lot. And what do I mean by that? I mean, people that there are very few municipalities that have a AAA bond status. Moody's just upgraded us about a month ago, and you know, I say that because less than 1% of the communities have that. So you know, we tend to look at internally. It's the responsibility of government to make sure they're managing their financial affairs right. We've got a solid fund balance. We've got a 100% fully funded retiree healthcare system. We're overfunded with our retiree pension system.
Don't tell me that.
Yes.
Nobody is over.
Nobody has that. I know it's like it's very unique, you know, and about $140 million that we have actually in our fund balance. So we're fortunate when it comes to our finances, but what does that mean? It's beyond just what we're doing internally. It's the external factors that'll give you a AAA bond rating. It's because of the financial well-being of people within the community itself. So Oakland, Macomb, we both share that now. It's something we've been pushing to achieve and attain, and it really puts us in a unique position so that if we do got to bond projects, we have the ability to do that at a very low rate, and so it doesn't cost the taxpayers much when we have to do that. So again, some of the projects we're working on, our jail project, that's about a $250 million project, but it's not so much just a jail. It's about mental health and substance use and assessing those folks when they come in contact with law enforcement so we can find how do we better deal with them? How do we better manage them if they're in the jail or if we have to send them someplace and we put them back into community-based programming. That facility that we're creating is going to be open probably in August of 2027. That was a fully funded project, meaning we're not bonding for that and we don't have to put a millage for it. So $250 million facility that we've been able to pay cash for.
You're just showing off now, Mark.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. You know, no, the showing off part would be our defense industry and what just happened at Selfridge.
Oh, no kidding. Now, let's go over that because the announcement was up here.
That
was so awesome.
Yeah, so the major component or challenge we've always had with the replacement of the A-10s and getting a new fighter mission out of Selfridge had everything to do with the runway and the runway extension because of a concern we had with an area that had houses in it that wouldn't allow us to have a new fighter mission. So what we did is we worked with the generals out at Selfridge, worked with the people within the community, brought together the legislatures to get an understanding of what can we do to help save Selfridge Air Base and make sure that we have a fighter mission into the future. Well, whether it's our congressional delegation, the state, we were able to figure out how do we come up with funding to support that. Last we talked when you had Donald Trump came to Michigan to announce that we're going to get these fighter missions here in Michigan. The governor was all on board, but it was all centered on whether or not the state would be able to commit $152 million to making sure we had that runway extension. And they just signed that here, actually on the porch here at Mackinac Island. You had Republicans standing beside the governor, all deciding we're going to sign this bill that's going to give us that $152 million to do the work, to move the actual roadway so they can extend the runway and provide better opportunity for that runway extension. So all this is pretty much a guarantee now that we're going to get $3.5 billion worth of planes coming to Selfridge Air Base.
You know, it's so interesting because I chaired the board at Lansing Airport for years, and we had to move one to extend the highway. And it gets into property buying and, you know, because you've got to have a certain way on the entry that you get. There's a lot of stuff that it goes through. So congratulations on that.
Yeah, that's some right-of-way issues that came into play. And interesting enough, Chris, I'm telling you, the fun part about this is they're preparing the base for those fighters to come in and for the KC-46s to come in, the reviewers. And to do that, it's going to take $1 billion worth of upgrades on that facility. And so they've got the funding to do that. And so what does that mean for people that are businesses that are interested in doing some of the work out there? There's an opportunity for them to do some work to be part of this mission moving forward. So it's pretty exciting. $1 billion investment just to prepare that base for that 3.5.
Well, and I'm sure you have it in your community too, is we don't know how big an aerospace industry we have here in Michigan.
Correct.
You know, I mean, we've got suppliers, we've got manufacturers, we've got all that. It's huge. huge here.
Yeah, and the multiplier effect to that. In other words, knowing that these planes are coming here, it means
Yeah.
there's people that are going to be coming here. The existence is going to be another 40, 50 years of Selfridge Air Base. We're not going to have to talk about base realignment and closure. But yes, we're going to start to see the industry grow in defense and aerospace. And in fact, I was down in St. Louis where Boeing was making these F-15s, looking at their facility and the capacity they had there to continue to make them was questionable. It's whether or not they need more space or kind of to find another manufacturing plant or facility. So we're engaged with conversation with them. Not to say that they're going to do this, but we are engaging them in conversation.
Get it shovel ready.
We're saying we've been working with our counterparts, Wayne, Oakland, Macomb, St. Clair, to get them to realize, hey, if Boeing decides they want to put a plant here someplace, we need to talk. We need to have an opportunity available for them. So we're in conversations. Not to say that's going to happen, but
Yeah.
we're driving that.
But it makes a great deal of sense.
It really would
to have it there for proximity.
Well, they need
sake.
it. They need the capacity. They need to figure out how do they have another plant, another facility, because right now the demand for those planes isn't just coming from Macomb County.
No.
It's coming from around the country and as well overseas for these planes right now. And they're backlogged. So we're trying to figure out how we can help them solve that.
I had the pleasure of flying with the Blue Angels.
Did you?
And that was an F-14 at the time, and it's unbelievable.
I can only imagine.
Mark, it's always good to have you here.
Thanks, Chris.
It
Appreciate
is.
you.
All right. We're going to be right back on the Michigan Business Beat on the Michigan Business Network. We're here coming to you from the Grand Hotel on Mackinac Island for the policy conference put on annually by the Detroit Regional Chamber of Commerce.